This is one of the most praised calling cards in Black Ops 6, the tactical nuke card, but it requires you to get 30 kills in a row without kill streaks, so it's basically impossible. But you see streamers get nukes all the time, making you wonder how they do it. So today I have for you the ultimate guide to dropping a tactical nuke in Black Ops 6. First thing, you need to have the correct settings, so I highly recommend you guys to check out this video if you want an in-depth guide on the best settings. Now, I would go over all of them in this video, but it's going to make the video an extra 20 minutes, so we're just going to be going over the very crucial ones, one of those being these sensitivities. In the recent update, they did change how these sensitivities work. Now we can actually go in by the decimal to really fine-tune our sense, but that can make it a little bit more confusing and you don't really know what your old sense is now. So Treyarch gave us a conversion chart, but that chart is wrong. Do not follow that. The one you want to follow is this one made by Exclusive A. Shout out to him. He went through and found the true value of what our sensitivity is now. As you guys can see, I'm playing on 1.42, which is slower than 6.6. Before I played on 7.7, but when I was messing around, I found that 1.42 feels phenomenal. Like I am locking on to players, doing better than I ever have before. It did take some time to get used to, and a slower sense will make you a little bit of a better player. Like all the professionals, their old sense was like 6.6, 7.7, 5.5. That's just because they can't really risk missing a bullet. So I do recommend you guys to try out a lower sense, even though it might feel weird at the beginning. You're not going to really miss any shots once you're used to it. Now for the sprint assist, you want the tactical sprint assist on. This is going to make it so you're going to automatically tactical sprints. You don't have to click that left stick at all. For the slide/die behavior, if you have any of these options, you'll have a little bit of a weird delay, or you won't be able to dolphin dive, or you won't be able to slide. So if you have it on hybrid, this is going to allow you to dolphin dive and slide with just with no delay whatsoever. For the sprint restore, make sure this is on as well with the slide maintain sprint. For the movement advanced settings, we are going to go down to single tap run. Even if you have auto tac sprint on, you still want this because it's going to remove any type of delay. This game has a lot of delays. We're trying to go through and remove all those delays. For the combat advanced settings, we are going to keep everything the same, but go down to the interact/reload behavior. I like prioritize interact. Some players do like tap to reload. You don't really see people using any of the other ones. The reason I like to prioritize interact is that if I'm about to die in a gunfight and I run out of, or just in general, if I run out of ammo, it's faster to pick up a gun off the floor than to reload my gun. And so if I just click the reload button, just tap it once, my guy will pick up anything off the floor. And if I want to reload, I have to hold the reload button, which typically if I go to reload, I'm already in a safe area, so I don't mind holding to reload. And that just makes it so in Warzone you can loot faster, and then it just feels very good in multiplayer. And I've won a lot more gunfights and saved myself because of that. It's gonna feel weird at first, but once you're used to it, you'll see the power behind it. Now for the controller vibration, you want this on off. Just less things shaking in your hands should lead to better aim. For the dead zone inputs, this is very important. So left stick min, my guy will walk forward by himself a little bit, but I'd rather have no delay at all, so I recommend 0. The left stick max, this is going to make it so now if I have it at 70, if I move my stick 70% of the way, I'm going to get to max movement speed. So if you actually lower it down to like 20, all you have to do is move your stick 20% and you get to 100% maximum movement speed, but that might make it a little bit too sensitive. So a lot of players will keep it between like 45 and 70. I personally like 70 a lot. For the right stick min, I just got a brand new controller, so I don't really have any stick drift, but if I do get stick drift, I will increase it to 5, and I won't ever really go past that, even if I have a lot of stick drift, just because it makes it so I can't like control my aim as well. It just gets too like, it's not sensitive enough. For the right stick max, 99, left trigger, right trigger, both of those on 0. For the aiming side of things, we are going to go over to the sensitivity multiplier. I like to have it on 0.85, although I might try it at 1, because now that I'm playing on 1.42, which is pretty slow, this gets really slow, but I notice I never miss shots, and since I'm playing ranked play in like iridescent lobbies, if I miss any shots, I am dead. This actually ensures that I don't really ever miss, and once you're used to it, I think you guys will do a lot better with the slower sense, although I'm still kind of messing around with it. Now for the next thing, for the ADS sensitivity transition timing, make sure this is on gradual, although some very good players still like the instant. This basically makes it so when I go to ADS, it gradually goes down to the 0.85. If I have it on instant, that means the second I start to ADS, it's already at 0.85. The gradual makes you just feel like you have aimbot. Like it's actually super easy to hit your shots when you have it on gradual compared to instant, but a lot of good players still like instant, so that is totally up to you. And then for the movement side of things, if you guys want to copy my settings real quick, feel free to. For the combat, you guys can copy all of these things. Again, I do have a settings video going like in depth with everything, like the audio things, but as just a little bit of a bonus to this video, I'll show you guys my frequencies. Although I do have a gaming headset, or I guess I have the Kiwi ear IEMs, and so for me, this is what feels the best for the frequencies. I just made it so the footsteps are very loud and everything else is like a little bit quieter basically. Then I got the sucker punch audio on there. And then now for the interface, this is actually super important. For the HUD presets, keep it on standard, tap over to visuals, and you want this on square. You guys can see that you can see more of your minimap. A big part of getting nukes is literally just knowing where the enemies are. So if you have a bigger minimap, you can see where more enemies are. For the compass type is minimap rotation on, radar off. Scale, I actually like to make the minimap a little bit bigger. Some pro players and just very good players like to have it on 150 or they keep it at 100. For me, I like 120, but that's totally up to you guys. And then for the iron scale minimap opacity 90, you guys can copy all of these. Now for the colors, this is going to make your game very vibrant, a little bit easier to see the enemies. You actually can customize what color the enemies are on your teammates and basically everything in the game. For the player names, make sure this is on full name. You're going to see their clan tag and their name, just making it a little bit easier to spot them. For the crosshair, you want this on static. It makes it so you can see where you're hip firing and just like it's a lot easier to center. And then I actually go over to the show more, and you want to make sure crosshair dot is on. This is going to be extremely important. I'm going to tell you guys about like passive aiming later. You want to keep this wherever an enemy could be. So if you don't have the dot, you know, you're not centering properly, and this makes it so you can win astronomically more gunfights. Center dot scale, I can't see shit, so I got it on larger. If you're on a big TV, I do recommend largest. And then crosshair spread on, crosshair opacity 100. Crosshair color, this is the color that I noticed like first the most, and it just stands out to me, and so it just is easier to center on that. But you can choose basically whatever color you want. And with all that said, that's gonna wrap it up for the settings. For the gun that I recommend, this is gonna be the Krig C, definitely the best gun in the game, and it actually just got banned from rank play. This is a super easy weapon to use to where you don't really need that many attachments, and you can take advantage of per greed. For the attachments though, we are going to be using the suppressor. This is going to keep us off the radar, making it actually so much easier to streak up. But as you guys can see, we don't have an underbarrel or a muzzle that gives us recoil control, so we are going to be adding the recoil springs. This is a very good attachment if you are rocking a suppressor. Gives us a little bit of recoil gun kick, horizontal recoil control, and vertical recoil control, overall reducing that little bit of a bounce that this gun has. Now for the rig up, we are using the quick draw, making the weapon feel lighter. You can snap on the targets a little bit faster, although a lot of good players also like the ergonomic because it allows you to play a little bit more aggressive. Whenever you slide or dive in this game, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. This is going to cut that delay in half, but I got a little bit more value out of just having the quick draw grip. For the magazine, it sucks when you run out of ammo, especially mid gunfight, so we got the extended mag, reducing the chances of that happening. For the optic, you can rock whichever optic you want. For me, I really like that Kepler Microflex. Now for the secondary, we are using the Grekova. This is going to be not the strongest pistol, but it's the easiest one to use, and whenever you're in the heat of war and you need to, you know, get that crucial kill, this is gonna take care of the job. And then for the melee, obviously just the knife. For the tactical, the stim shots are what I like to use the most. If I'm one shot and I need to get out of the gunfight or maybe eagle chow the guy, I pop the stim and I have a way higher chance of actually surviving that, and this has helped me on so many nukes. But you can rock whichever one you want. I just think most of you guys will get value out of that stim shot. For the lethal, the blast traps are so underrated, and I kind of hope they stay like that because they're very annoying to play against. So basically, this is like a claymore with no lasers. It's just you get into the vicinity and it blows up, making it very overpowered. And this actually gives you so many kills, and you can put this down behind you wherever, you know, someone could flank you. I wouldn't completely rely on it because there's certain perks that will make it so you actually these don't get set off, but they will get you some extra kills. We have the assault pack, so if you ever run out of ammo, you can throw this down, get more ammo. You don't really have to worry about that too much. And then it actually replenishes the blast traps. So if you have a blast trap and you have an assault pack, before you use the assault pack, make sure you throw down that blast trap. Now for the perks, we are rocking 3 green ones, and I'll explain why in a second. But you do need to run flat jacket. If you don't run flat jacket, you will die by a nade when you're on like a 28 streak. If you don't believe me, rock something else, and then you'll probably die on a 28 to a random nade. For the perk green one, I like to have dispatcher. This is basically gonna make it so now it reduces the cost for non-lethal streaks, so then we can get our UAV faster, we can get the harp faster, making it a little bit easier to get those kills. And then for the perk 3, we do have a gearhead. This is gonna make it so now we actually can have 2 field upgrade charges, and it makes them charge faster. So that means now you can get twice as many blast traps from the assault pack, and you'll get the assault pack just more often. A lot of people don't realize how good gearhead is. And then for the perk 2, we do have forward intel, although you could swap this out for ninja. Ninja is going to make it so the enemies can't hear your footsteps, but I get a little bit more value out of forward intel. This makes it so then the minimap, it shows a little bit more. And remember, the biggest part of a nuke is just knowing where the enemies are. If you can see more of your minimap, you're going to see more of where the enemies could be. And then it also shows where the enemies are facing whenever they get pinged on the minimap. So if they fire their gun without a suppressor, or a UAV goes over them, you're gonna see which way they're looking at. It actually helps a lot. For the combat specialty, we do have 3 green ones, so we unlock the strategist one. This one is just going to give you an extra score bonus for objectives and destroying enemy equipment. You can see the equipment through the walls, which is the main reason I really like it. I always die by those spring mines. They're very overpowered. This makes it so you can actually see them, and then you can deploy the equipment and the field upgrades a little bit faster. And a lot of getting a nuke is just kind of zoning a certain area, and I'll show you guys how to do that in some good examples. With all that said, that is what I recommend for a nuke. Although if you do want to run the gunfighter, the perks I do recommend is going to be flat jacket, forward intel, and then gearhead. Or you could do double time. This allows you to attack sprint a little bit longer. This is typically what I rock in my gameplays just because I'm trying to make them very entertaining, trying to move around the map very fast. So this is another combination that's pretty good. Some people would say to rock the enforcer, which is basically going to give you a temporary buff to your movement speed and your health regen rate after every kill. Although that buff really isn't that much, and I get more value out of having like flat jacket, forward intel, and double time, or you know, the gearhead on there. Now that's going to wrap it up for the class. If you guys do find this video helpful so far, make sure you hit the subscribe button and a like. It just helps push the video out to more people. Now you're gonna want to rock the UAV. I see some people rocking, you know, maybe the counter UAV. The UAV is going to be helpful because we have the forward intel showing where the enemies are looking, and you can just ping more enemies with the forward intel if you have a UAV up. And then the next thing that you want to have is going to be the harp. This is going to make it so it just basically is a constant UAV. You constantly know where the enemies are going to be, and the whole thing about getting a nuke is just knowing where the enemies are. Once you get the harp, it makes the nuke 10 times easier. It is insane how beneficial the harp is in this game. And since we have the dispatcher, we're gonna be able to get that a little bit faster. Instead of it requiring 1450 score, we can get it in 1250. And so yes, you already have to get, you know, like 3000 score for your nuke. This is just gonna make it a little bit easier to get there. Now the most important part of this entire video is the hand cannon. This actually counts towards your nukes, kind of. So as long as you don't get the last kill of your nuke streak with the hand cannon, you can call in the nuke. So as you guys can see from this gameplay right here, the final kill of my nuke streak, the 30th kill, was with the hand cannon, and I didn't get the tactical nuke. I got the nuclear medal, so I would get the calling card, but I can't actually call in the nuke. Now, if I get a bunch of kills with the hand cannon and the final kill with my gun or maybe the mines, then it actually will, I actually can get the tactical nuke, making it so the hand cannon is the most crucial thing for the nukes. This is a extremely overpowered streak. Although it's a little bit weird. I would only use the hand cannon once you have the harp up. If the enemy catches you off guard, basically, if you don't know where the enemy is and they get first shot on you, you're probably going to miss that shot with the hand cannon. There's a lot of flinch, but if you know where the enemies are going to be coming from and you can just pre-aim it, then the hand cannon is super easy to use, and you get so many kills with it to where the hand cannon is an absolute must if you want to nuke for the most part. For the game modes that I recommend you guys to play domination and hardpoint. This is going to make it a whole lot easier to actually figure out where the enemies are coming from. Remember, for a nuke, all you got to do is know where the enemies are. This is going to make it a little bit easier. But let's say we're playing kill confirmed or TDM. You don't really have any objective indicator telling you where the enemies are, making it so you'll get flanked a lot. The games will end a little bit faster. But if you're playing domination, let's say we captured A flag and B flag, we know the enemies should be coming from C flag. If we're playing hardpoint, this one's a little bit tougher to figure out where the enemies are coming from, but you know all the enemies are usually heading towards the hardpoint, so you can flank around it. You can look over the hardpoint, and it just makes it a whole lot easier to streak up. Also, just in general, this applies for like every mode. The enemies are typically the opposite of where your team is. So if your teammates are taking up like the bottom half of the map, the enemies should be coming from the other side. If your teammates are all on the bottom left, the enemies are typically spawning the top right, and so you can kind of use that information based off any mode or map that you're on. With all that said, another very good game mode is going to be 10v10 mosh pit, and again, you want to look for domination or hardpoint within the 10v10. Typically, you do get more random lobbies. Like, it's not always super sweaty. You can sometimes get an easier lobby or a really difficult lobby. Seems like there's not really SBMM within 10v10, and so a lot of my nukes are actually from there. It's just sometimes it gets a little bit too hectic to where you're just dying from behind or getting spawn trapped like crazy, but 10v10 is a great option. With all that being said, you guys should now have the best settings, you have the best class, you know the modes to play, and you understand that the hand cannon plays a big factor in actually getting that nuke. Now let's go over these strategies. First off, if you're playing against Scump, you're probably not going to get a nuke, so you need to be better better than the majority of players. If you want some tips on how to get an easier lobby, I'll be going over those at the very end of the video. That being said, no matter what, you still need to have very good aim. You don't really want to be missing any of your shots, and you want to be able to have very good movement. So I do have a movement guide. I would be going over all this stuff in this video, but then this video would be like an hour long, as well as the aiming guide video. Check out these two videos, learn everything I'm talking about in those, and you shouldn't really miss any of your shots, and you should be able to have very good movement. Now, once you're in the lobby, I don't recommend just immediately going for the nuke. I recommend playing very aggressive. Get a feel for the lobby, diagnose how the enemies are playing. Even if they're sweaty, I wouldn't back out. I would still just play through the lobby, because you still can get a nuke against sweaty players, especially if you have some teammates who are constantly calling in UAVs. Maybe you're getting your UAV. That's going to let you know where the enemies are. If you don't have any UAVs, the enemies are typically always going to be opposite of where your team is. If your team is on the bottom portion of the map, the enemies are probably going to be in the middle and the back portion. If your teammates are taking up the whole bottom left corner, the enemies are usually spawning top right corner. Keep in mind, I'm using the word spawning. If your team is getting kills, the enemies have to spawn in, and if you know the spawns, which is always opposite of your team, you know where to look, you know where to pre-aim, you know where to be. If you're dying a lot, if your team is dying a lot, that means the enemies are moving forward, they're not spawning in, so then you don't really know where they're at. That's why when you're getting kills, you're on a streak, you're playing aggressive somewhat, it's easier to keep on getting kills because the enemies are spawning in. Your team is taking up map space. That's a big part. You want to take up space on the map. You don't want the enemies to take up space. Now, let's say you start streaking up a little bit. You do have to be good enough to just get like 5 to 10 kills on your own. If you can't do that, you got some other things to work on, like your aim and your movement, just your overall general awareness. Now, let's say you got that UAV, your teammates are getting UAVs, you're looking at the minimap constantly, then you're going to be close to your hand cannon. After you get the hand cannon though, you do want to start zoning a certain area. People might say this is camping, but if you play Call of Duty for a while, you do know what zoning is. You just want to camp a certain area, but not like heavy camp it. Like I might be rotating in the Nuketown house and the enemy spawn, going upstairs, downstairs, going into the garage, moving around the area. I'm not going to just sit upstairs the entire time. And that can be applied to some other maps. If you do sit in one area for too long and you do get kills, the enemies are going to know you're there and they're going to always try to hunt you down. So that's why you want to rotate different areas around a certain area. So that's why I call it zoning. And this should allow you to get the harp. I wouldn't call in the harp right away, because the worst thing is that when you get to like 23 or 25 kills in a row and your harp is gone, and then that's the scariest last like 5 kills, because you don't really have any UAVs. Typically your teammates won't get any UAVs, you don't have any information, and so a lot of the time I do die like 2 off a nuke because of that. So I do recommend waiting until about 15 kills if possible, then use the harp. And now from here is when a lot of the tips I'm giving is actually going to help out the most. Once you call in the harp, then you use the hand cannon. If you use the hand cannon before having the harp up, you're probably gonna die with it, because there's so much flinch. Like if the enemies see you and they hit a shot on you, your screen's gonna shake a lot and you're probably gonna die. But if you know where the enemies are gonna be, then you can pre-aim certain areas and it's a whole lot easier to get that nuke. So you call in the harp, you have the hand cannon, you still kind of want to zone an area. Doesn't mean you can just run out like crazy unless you have some confidence. Maybe the hard point's on the other side of the map, you need to zone to a different area. If you do need to rotate to a different area, the harp is like the best time to actually do so, because you know where the enemies are. Keep in mind, ghosts, they won't really show up in real time on there, so you just got to remember that and just be watch out for that. Now let's say you rotate to a different area. On the way you're rotating, you're getting a couple kills because you know where they're at. If you can't get kills with the hand cannon and you have the harp up, then you got to go practice sometimes in like a private match or something, and just get more reps on the game. Now you get to a different area. The UAV, the harp will probably run out when you're still at like 25 kills. Sometimes you will get a lot of kills with the hand cannon, sometimes you won't get any kills, sometimes you'll get a lot of kills when the harp is up, sometimes you won't really get any kills, and you just got to make the best out of the situation. But you should be able to get to 23 or 25 kills, or even better, like 28 kills if you do everything correctly. From there, you literally want to camp your ass off and just sit in a power position. Just in general, it's good to sit in power positions. Power positions are certain areas on the map where you have the complete advantage. The enemies have to push you. You shouldn't really die in those spots unless random nades land on you. But that's why we got flat jacket, and we have those mines on the ground to throw in areas. So then we limit the areas that we can be flanked from. Now, if you're in the power position, you want to be shouldering a lot of things. You don't just want to sit out in the open because a sniper might get you. So on a lot of these gameplays that you see me get, I'll be shouldering areas. I don't just run out there. I'll be kind of peeking my shoulder, and this will allow me to get information. When you have the information, you know if it's a good enough chow or not. At the beginning of the game, when you don't even have the harp or the hand cannon yet, you're kind of like just chowing everything. You're running around. You don't really need a shoulder that much. When you get up in these higher streaks, you don't want to throw your life. You got to play slower, sit in the power position, get the information. You could even just throw down the landmines, wait for the field upgrade to charge back, throw down more landmines, and just keep on doing that, and you will rack up a lot of kills. And if you just sit in those power positions and you zone a certain area, take advantage of the harp, take advantage of your UAV. If you have a teammate that has a harp or UAV, that's insanely beneficial. You should be able to get the nuke, although it does take some luck. You got to make sure you don't die by these random things. And so I've basically gone over most of the strategy. Just to recap: power position, play super aggressive, slow down when you get a couple kills away from the harp. Once you get the harp, pull out the hand cannon, go crazy with that. After that, slow down, sit in the power position, let the enemies push you. You don't really want to be pushing too many enemies. That's why we have an overpowered AR. I hope that stuff was pretty helpful. Now let's go over how you can get an easier lobby. So in this game, there's a thing called skill-based matchmaking, otherwise known as SBMM. The game wants to put you against players your skill, even in the casual playlist. It makes sense in ranked play, but even in the regular casual playlist, it wants to put people against your skill level. That's why 10v10 can be kind of helpful, because it seems like there's less SBMM. You get more random lobbies. You typically have a better connection. That's one thing that SBMM does, is that it favors like putting people against your skill level rather than connections. So maybe you'll have 80 or 100 ping at times if you're very good at the game, because the game's like, okay, we need to put you against very good people. Or the game will give you really bad teammates, thinking that you can carry the team to the win. So then it'll be very hard to take up space. It'll be very hard to capture the flags. Sometimes you'll get triple capped. The enemies will have A and B flag or C and B flag, making it a little bit tough to actually know where the enemies are, because they're not spawning in. Your teammates are just dying over and over, so the enemies are taking up space. So that's why playing with the team can be pretty helpful. Another reason playing with the team can be helpful is that if you're playing with teammates that are good but not that good, like for me, if I play with my IRL friends, they're not that good at the game. So the game will be like, okay, since you're playing with those people that aren't that good, let's lower the SBMM. Let's find something right in the middle. If I'm a 2KD player, I think I'm like a 3 or 4, but let's say I'm a 2KD player and my friend is a 1KD player, we'll get a lobby around like 1.5, which is easier than a 2KD. So I actually will go on crazy streaks, and that's another reason why streamers, or a lot of streamers, will play with their viewers, is that the viewers are typically not that good. So then the lobbies get a lot easier, and so then they can get more streaks and they can look better on stream. And so what I'm saying is that play with friends who aren't that good at the game, and the lobbies will be a lot easier. This is how I got a lot of my nukes back in the day. I would play with my ex. She was dog shit at the game, but it would make the lobby so easy that I could get a nuke almost every single game if I use those strategies in this easier lobby compared to just queuing in by myself. Now, another thing that you can do is just, this is called reverse boosting. You basically just die. You don't kill yourself, but you let the enemies kill you over and over. If you kill yourself over and over, it's not going to work. You have to let the enemies do that. You have to have the enemies kill you. If you do that and you die over and over and over for like 5 games, you don't care about your KD at all, the game's going to think you're a bad player, and then you can probably go get that nuke first or second try, but you only have like 1 to 2 tries, and then the lobbies will get a lot sweatier. And so that method's good if you don't really care about your KD. Now, the next method is a thing called 2-boxing, which you've heard a lot of this in the community. People are saying this is patched. It's not patched at all, because it's impossible to patch this. It's just like playing with bad friends, or having bad viewers, if you're streaming, having just basically playing with bad people. This is more about if you have another console. Let's say I play on Xbox, I bought the game, and I have another Xbox. I can game share my game to that Xbox, make a new account, make the stats really bad, and then queue into a game with that account. So now it's like, if I have an account with like a 0 KD and I have a 2 KD, the lobby's KD is probably going to be like a 1.0 or around there. Basically, it's not always going to be like that. Sometimes you'll get a 0.5 KD lobby, or maybe a 1.8 KD lobby. So you just got to repeatedly try this and repeatedly play those games, and you'll get more data, and you have the higher chance to actually get an easier lobby. And so that's what a lot of people will do. They'll just queue in with the bad accounts, and then it gets the average. And so then it kind of feels like you're playing with no SBMM at times. Sometimes it's really sweaty though, and this will make it a lot easier to get that nuke. Now, the more accounts that you have with you, so if you have 5 extra consoles, or I guess if you split screen, that should work. If you're on the newer consoles, you can split screen on there, so then you have 2 bot accounts, and then you have your account and you go into the lobby. That's gonna bring it down by a bunch, making it so much easier to get those nukes. The thing that got patched was session joining. What you could do before was go into a game with the bot account, and then once it found a lobby, you would just join that account, and then you would get the lobby KD of the bot account. And so then you would get some bad enemies, or I guess as people say, bot lobbies, but the enemies are still real. They're just not that good at the game. And so those are the methods that a lot of people use. You can also use a couple VPNs, but they're not as consistent as the methods I just showed. So we went over like the reverse boosting, the session joining, which is now patched, and then the 2-boxing. Also, keep in mind, some people would say that if you're playing with a low level account, or you're playing with a friend who's not that good, they would say that's cheating. That is not cheating at all. Cheating is when you give yourself the unfair advantage over the enemy. You being better than the enemy, you having more skill, is not cheating. You guys are on the same level playing field, just one player is better. That is not cheating. Cheating is like walls and aimbot, something that actually gives you the advantage that the enemy wouldn't be able to obtain, basically. Now, the reason they say that is because in the TOS, it says that if you collude with another user for the gains of XP, etc., then that would be against the TOS. What they're referring to is that if your friend is, or someone that you know is on the other team, and they're letting you kill them and you're getting XP and things, that would be against the TOS. You simply playing with someone who's not that good, or an account that's not that good, is not cheating whatsoever. But I am curious. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on that. With all that said, if you guys did find this video helpful, a subscription would be appreciated for yourself. You will get better at the game because I try to bring out videos like this all the time. Leave a like, seriously though. The like would bring it out to more people. Turn on the notice if you do enjoy the content. With all that said, I hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and deuces.